Well, we're at the end of the month. It's Halloween morning. Um, and I actually wanted to do a stream that has nothing to do with that holiday because I've said before it's deceased. People don't trick or treat or do anything like that anymore, at least in my area, thanks to the virus. And before that, barely anybody was going out anyway. But I thought it would be interesting to talk about a pattern I've started to notice and to kind of just discuss what I think the meaning of friendship is, or acquaintances, things like that. And I've always believed if someone is friends with another person or wants to be friends with another person, like wants to actually build into some form of correspondence or camaraderie, they will speak to that person sometimes after they've been contacted by that individual or if they choose to initiate things. Um, they'll ask them like basic stuff. Hey, what do you like to do? What kind of things interest you? Um, they'll make an attempt to get to know that person. And I guess you have some individuals that argue that these types of things are supposed to come naturally, that if you make an effort or if you like by somehow that by asking these things you are moving things in a way that's not natural. But I've always said that whenever you're trying to learn things about a person, basic things, unless it's some celebrity that you can look up, you're going to have to ask them, hey, what kind of stuff do you like? Or what are your hobbies or whatever? Or somebody else that knows them. I mean, how else would you know these things unless they tell you? But I don't know. I feel like with people I speak to or choose to speak to, I'm very consistent when it comes to just asking them, hey, how are you? What's up? You been all right? Um, I mean, just showing the most basic of interest in their well-being. And to be fair, some of these people say the same thing back, but um, it just seems as if a lot of them do it more as a courtesy versus actually caring. Like if you ask somebody, "Hey, are what happened?" Something like I don't know. It's just I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. It's one of those things where I sometimes feel that if I didn't ask them first, they wouldn't ask back. Like they do it just kind of as an exchange type thing, not as something they really want to do. Um, I was talking to my best friend about 2 days ago, and he, I think I mentioned before that like he had told me I was the only person that when they called him would ask how he was doing, and that a lot of people when you call them or when they call you, once you pick up, they go, yes. So there was this thing that happened, and I was really surprised by this because it's such a common courtesy for me to just call somebody and like a person I want to talk to and ask them how they're doing. Man, this news conference starts in an hour. This Delphi case. I wish I could have talked about that a little bit longer on Saturday. But anyways, I thought that was really sad because I think there is something wrong when you live in a world where people can't show the most basic levels of kindness or interest in not even just like a person that walks down the street or some random stranger, but like people who they want to speak, who they're fine with talking to, who they'll talk to for several days or even longer than that if no issues show up. Um, and it just seems like a lot of people, I get this impression, if others did not reach out to them, you would never hear anything from them. Um, just to give you an example, and I'm gonna try as hard as I can to not make this about romance, but I'm only bringing her up because that's an individual who tried to convince herself that I was friends with her. With Triple L, for example, during our correspondence, there was a month where she went to some other state, right? And in this whole month, this is someone I would speak to, on average, maybe like twice a week or something, right? In this whole month, she doesn't call, she doesn't send me a message, no email. Just you would almost think she was upset with me. And I thought it was so weird because I didn't remember having any kind of confrontation with her. And certainly when I spoke to her again, she claimed that, oh, we're on good terms or whatever. And her excuse was that she was staying at these people's houses and they like to ear hustle. And I've said before, I'm someone who, when I don't want somebody to hear something I'm speaking about and I'm at my house, I go for a walk to get away from any chance of that happening. But because I'm someone who knows how to do that, that's why I didn't believe her when she tried to claim that there was no way for her to contact me. Because if someone ear hustles, they certainly can't. I mean, unless they're just peering over your shoulder, hear what you're typing to someone in a message. It was just a really stupid. I don't know. It was like proof of the fact that you can't even entrust people to make the slightest interest in trying to speak to you, no matter how much they claim they enjoy it or they like it or whatever. And it becomes kind of disturbing when you realize that there are a lot of people who, if you didn't always initiate things with them, you would just never hear anything back from them forever. Like, and you don't have to be on bad terms with them. You don't have to be in some kind of quarrel with them. They just, if you for whatever reason decide you don't want to make any efforts to speak to them anymore, you can expect them to not make any efforts to speak to you anymore as well. And there's something wrong with that because, you know, these are people who claim are that they're fine with corresponding with you. They claim they enjoy talking to you, but they don't really seem to be able to do that. Now, one of the other components of this stuff is I think when people talk to each other on a friendly basis or personable basis, there should be some attempt at respect. So, for example, me and my best friend disagree on stuff all the time. Um, One of the most egregious things he ever said was this comment that I thought was actually, this is pretty recent. This is from our last correspondence where he was trying to say, like, um, I guess trying to speak negatively of people that will watch a movie because an actor's in it, and said that he's someone who's more into the story. And I was like, how do you know what the story is if you've never seen the movie? Um, but I also, like, I didn't get to make this point because the topic kept shifting and shifting. But I mean, let's be very clear. Wanting to see a movie just because an actor you like is in it is not weird or wrong in the slightest. Um, there's a certain thing called bankable actors, people like Will Smith, for example, who are known for starring in films that get make millions of dollars because a lot of people will just readily flock to anything he's in or these other actors are in. I'm not naming, for example. So it's not weird at all to want to see a movie or a show because an actor you like is in it in the slightest. And I've been someone who's actually watched multiple movies of different actors I like just because they're in them. Sometimes I might not like it, and I won't watch that one again. But then they'll be in something else. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect to like this, and then I'm more inclined to give something that I otherwise would not have been interested in a chance if someone I know is in it or someone I'm familiar with from some other thing I saw. But I'm just saying that's an area where we disagree. But when I disagree with someone that I'm friends with, there's still a very noticeable semblance of respect. I don't call them stupid. I don't call them an idiot. I don't call them, any type of demeaning term or insulting term. Now, I might say that I think this thing they're saying is not right, that it's not thought out. Like I don't think that response of his was thought out. Because he was trying to also trash people that go to see a movie in theaters more than once. And I said, like, why would that bother you? I mean, oh, you have to keep paying for it. No, you don't have to keep paying for anything. If you saw a movie once and you don't want to pay for it again, then you don't have to go back to the theater. But if there are people who want to make sure a movie that they like succeeds and maybe gets a sequel, or you know, because unfortunately we have for the longest lived in a country where the quality of something is generally determined by what it makes, instead of the quality of the story. So a lot of people will trash a movie like, oh, it bombed at the box office. So they don't want the movie that they like to be seen that way. So they go and see the movie multiple times. And you know, some people also just enjoy a movie so much that they want to see it repeatedly before it's even officially released. I mean, I went to go see No Way Home twice. I saw it by myself, and after my brother got mad at me for not seeing it, for not like waiting with him, I went to go see it with him the following weekend, or I think it was the weekend after that. So you know, there's plenty of basically what I'm getting at is there are multiple, in my opinion, valid reasons that someone would want to go see a movie in theaters multiple times. And I told them that, you know, if some people just like seeing a movie they like repeatedly. Um, and he was like trying to, I guess, say something about paying for a streaming service just to see one movie. I said, no, if you get paid for a streaming service, you can see whatever is on there anytime you want. And I told him if I buy a DVD, because I usually will get like either a DVD or a digital release of a movie I like. If I get one of those, I can watch it whenever I want forever. Like they're not making anything else off it. That's just me supporting the official release, which I encourage people to do if they really like something. There's a whole bunch of movies I have on iTunes and on what's the other one? Yeah, on iTunes, so I can watch it on my phone or TV or whatever. You know, anytime I want. And like I said, I prefer, because everything I get in iTunes, with the exception of one movie that I just was waiting for because I didn't feel like going to see it in theaters. Everything I've gotten on iTunes is something that I've seen more than once. Because I mean, I truly believe this. The best entertainment is stuff that people watch over and over again. Or excuse me, engage with over and over again, I should say. There are plenty of people who hold up The Last Airbender as one of the greatest cartoons ever made. And they've seen it the whole, like from episode 1 to what was that, 60, 61, all the way through multiple times. Myself included. It's been years since I did that, but you know, it's still clearly something that I would be open to doing again. Hmm. Yeah, it's but anyways, the point in mentioning the stuff with him is just to say that you can have disagree, because I've always thought it was so irritating how one of the accusations that gets levied at me by some of these people that they do something where it's inexcusable, I don't want to talk to you anymore, is they try to say that I have a problem with different opinions. And I said the stuff that he and I disagree on, a movie, a show, whatever, none of this is in any way like I feel a direct attack on me as a human being. When you have someone who tries to say that that it's okay for people to harass you online, or it's okay for chicks to waste your time forever and ever, and I'm going to blame you for this indefinitely, that's when I don't want to talk to you anymore, because now you're veering off into territory that is not sympathetic to me in the slightest. And you know, you're trying to use this idea of a different opinion as a way of justifying me speaking to a person who is antagonistic to me. Oh, a lot of people are going through things like this right now, Envoy. I mean, I was actually like, I started to stream off like this because I'm going to give two different, very recent examples of people that were not able to act like human beings towards yours truly. Gumi says, I've seen many movies I really enjoy multiple times. I don't see anything wrong with that. I can also speak for some of my siblings who also do this too. Oh yeah. My because when I was like a kid or a teenager, I didn't have a account like a bank account, like something I could put money in and then like get stuff online with. But one of the first things I got on the iTunes store was the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, and I've seen all three of those at different like just since they came out, like all three of them at least 10 times each. Um and a lot of those previous times were me like watching them on some website. I know I had two on DVD and I still have two on DVD. That's one of the earliest DVDs I ever got for a movie. But the point is I knew I was going to get those because I knew those were movies I'd want to see over and over because of how enjoyable I find them to be. Um and that's why with him, because he tried to tie the idea of seeing something repeatedly to like, oh, it's stupid because you have to keep paying for it. It's like, no, once you buy a DVD or a digital release of something, you can watch it for free whenever you want. So that was why I brought up that someone seeing something over and over really should not be an issue at all. Because in my opinion, the best entertainment is stuff that people want to see over and over. And like just like we talked about this before, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That game had one of the lowest turnover rates of people bringing it back because it was so fun that people played it forever. Anytime you have something that people want to keep watching, or if it's a game playing with, or just engaging with even years after it's been released, that is the sign of making something that's actually worth a damn. Star Wars been out for how many decades and people still watch it? I always say just hit the nail on the head. There's a difference between someone disagreeing with you or pointing out something they don't like, as opposed to trying to assassinate your character. Well, that's why I was saying that the supposed disagreements that I'm not tolerant of are stuff that personally affects me. Because I think I'm very consistent at trying to be sympathetic to people I like supposedly want to speak to. Like, hey, my mother is doing this to me. Oh, that sucks. Oh, my dad said that, like I'll generally take their side because I recognize the fact that the stuff that they go through doesn't affect me one way or the other, and they probably like it's not like there's just some stuff where it's not your place to assess somebody over. Like, picture yourself as just Triple L, for example. You're a woman who likes some guy in a platonic way, supposedly, and he's telling you about how every time he goes out and tries talking to chicks, it's a waste of time. That's why he stopped years ago. It's not your place to argue him down and try to debate him and get into some kind of back, because it's like this has no effect on you, and he's not doing anything that's harmful to other people. He just says, "Hey, you know what? I tried it with them. They're not interested. I'm done." And that's enough for you to start sitting here talking about his confidence and trying to have a window into his soul. That's why you got to cut that off, man. You don't like friendships and people you talk to, not because like it's your job or anything, but just people you want to speak to are not supposed to make you feel miserable and have you in these back and forth debates over stuff you don't want to argue about. Seriously, some people just have to realize their place. Like, it's not it I've never done that with someone who I wanted to be friends with. I've never sat back and tried to tell them, "Oh, you should be doing this," or what, because it's just not my place. Um, so let me get into this new character, this amazing man. So about 2 weeks ago, I'm on Twitter. Somebody posted a beautiful piece of art. It is a drawing of two anime characters, or I guess manga characters, and it's like really amazing to me, because some of the way people draw online is just with digital stuff, it just looks beautiful. In fact, if this image wasn't, if me posting the link didn't compromise the individual I'm about to talk to, because they're like in the comment section, there's only like two comments, I would post it because it just looks really nice. But anyways, I click on the profile of this guy who leaves a comment just out of, I guess, curiosity, because he says something really interesting. And he has a link to his Discord ID. So his Discord ID is what you would put on Discord to send a friend request to him and then start speaking. And I said, well, he seems to be interested in the same stuff as me, so I guess, what the hell? I might as well just, say hello. So I send him a request. He accepts it. We talk for a couple of days. Um, I asked like basic stuff. What kind of stuff are you into? Blah, 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 right? And over the course, because this doesn't go on, this started on the 20th. So it's like less than 2 weeks. But I'm always looking for little patterns of stuff, just to see, because I don't really like to waste my time with people who aren't interested in talking to me. I start to notice that every time we speak, it's me initiating it. So he'll be online. I'll go, hey, how are you doing? And he won't, he'll respond, right? He'll be like, oh, I'm all right. What about yourself? But he'll never initiate, even though he's online seemingly all damn day every day. Like just that's the hilarious part. And so I also would notice that I would ask, you know, because I really think a lot of stuff I ask is basic. What kind of hobbies do you have? Do you play any games? It's kind of funny that him and the other person I'm going to mention, they both play. Like, this is a thing I noticed where every time there's someone I meet that plays the same, like a similar game to something I play or plays the same game as me, um, they never okay, so if you ask somebody, hey, I see that you play this game that I play, can we play it together? And he goes, yeah, sure, when I have the time. And then day after day, they're online, and you even see them playing it at different points, but they never say anything to you about playing it together. And you're like, well, hell, this is kind of, you know, why are what are we never going to play this? Because if someone said they want to play, for example, Dead by Daylight with me, and I haven't played that in like 2 months, but like just pretend that's the example. I would set up a day to do it. I would say, hey, next Wednesday, next Thursday, because I'm actually trying to do this. We're not going to sit here and have you indefinitely waiting for me to want to play this. So even though we have the same game, never get to play together. But the other thing that irritates me is again the fact that every time we speak, I initiate it, and anytime one of us asks questions about the other that again are meant to get to know the other person, it's me that asks the stuff. So I'm gonna read for you the exchange we had because I just said I'm just gonna flat out ask him, is this even worth retaining? This is from yesterday. I said hi. He says hello. I say, do you think we should stop speaking? He says, is that what you want? I said, no, but we don't seem to be progressing in any way. He says, in what way are you trying to progress? And I respond, get to know each other. He says, not like we're going to find out each other's life stories in the week you've been messaging me. And I said, yeah, but you don't seem interested in getting to know me. I don't think you've ever asked me a question relating to something I like. It's always me asking you. He says, I'm not interested in anyone's life. If you want to tell me something, you tell me something, but I'm not going to pry into people's life. And so I respond by saying, so you think I've been prying into your life by asking you what I consider to be basic questions like what you're interested in? He replies, you have in instances, yes. And then I go, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. Now, actually, I'm gonna keep going. We'll get into the rest of this. He says, if you're looking for me to ask a bunch of questions, you've got the wrong person, I'm afraid. I respond by saying, it's not about you asking a bunch of questions. You just don't seem particularly interested in getting to know me. Outside of how are you, I can hardly think of a time you inquired or made an effort to initiate a dialogue with me. Every time we've spoke, it was started by me messaging you, never the other way around. He replies by saying, that's unlikely a change on my part. And I said, why do you not like speaking to me? He replies, I told you I'm not interested in anyone in particular. I said, sir, you cannot be interested in anyone and still make an effort to speak to them, especially if they're trying with you. He replies, then I'll go ahead and cut the cord and say yes to your earlier question. We'll go our separate ways. And then he starts typing some other message, but I unfriend him before that, so he can't finish typing it. Because when you try to send somebody a message on Discord, you're not friends with them or in any servers, they can't get it. So like I saw him typing that stupid crap. Like, no, I'm not. We're gonna live with the mystery of whatever that was. But I just want to make this very clear because sometimes when we read stuff, you don't like think about the different parts of it. So remember, I proposed, hey, we should just stop speaking because you don't seem interested in talking to me. And why did I feel that way? Because every time you try to initiate a dialogue with him, it's always you that asks the questions of like, hey, do you like this? Do you like that, et cetera, et cetera? And it's always you that even initiates things in the first place. It's never him that just will randomly message you, go, hey, how are you? Hey, what's up? How are you? Um, but he tries to play this game where he says, where is it? Where is it? Not like we're going to find out each other's life stories in the week you've been messaging me. And it's like this, none of this has anything to do with learning every single thing about a person in some short amount of time. This has to do with an individual that is not reciprocating the interest that you have in trying to have a rapport with them. Um, and when he gets to the part about I'm not interested in anyone's life, that's more like attempting to go, well, this isn't a thing that's personally against you. I'm just this way with everybody. But remember, I just want you to also think about this. How did I get this guy's contact information? Because on Twitter, he posted it in his profile. Like on in his profile, he posted his Discord ID or tag or whatever you want to call it, which means that he wanted people to send him a friend request. Because remember, I sent him when he accepted it and speak to him. So imagine, like, think of how crazy it is that you start talking to a guy who puts up what's basically a help wanted sign for people to speak to him. And then after must be 7-10 days, you start noticing, like, hey, every time I talk to this person, it's me initiating it. But I thought they were the one who wanted to speak to people. Otherwise, why the hell would they put their Discord tag up for people to see and send them a message with? Like, you get where it's like really crazy that that's the result you received from someone who put their tag up for people to like message them, because that's the only reason he would do it. If he wants people to speak to him. Arlen Magumi's comment, dude, this guy sounds like a total jerk. I really dislike people like that. You aren't in the wrong. I certainly understand your decision in cutting him off. Because remember, I could have kept that going a lot longer because it was me that posed the question of, hey, do you want to stop speaking? He never said anything about that before. So if I wanted to, I could just keep indefinitely talking to this guy that every time I speak to him, I have to send him a message to start talking to him. And then Envoy says, I think it's always best to air these things out. People would say that Justin might have overreacted. To hell with that. He communicated the type of relationship he wants, did the right thing. Online interaction, including text messages and anything not face to face, can be so weird at times. I think it's because body language and facial expression cannot be read. Well, that's what I'm saying. That, like, when I speak to a person, I tell them up front, if they're doing something that bothers me, this is what bothers me and this is why it bothers me. And if they are unwilling to compromise or meet me halfway in some capacity, then I'm done with you. Because this isn't like, I'm not like some woman that just randomly decides, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I tell people up front, you're doing this thing that's getting on my nerves. It gets on my nerves because of this. Stop doing it or we're done. And usually, you have to do something I find particularly egregious. But again, in most instances, I will tell you up front, I don't want to speak to you anymore, or I am upset with you because of this, that, or the other. There's no ambiguity on my part. Exactly why else would he put his Discord ID there? So when people send him a friend request due to being intrigued by his art, he acts like that. You know what? Let me clarify this. The artist is not the one who did that. He left a comment on that person's picture, and that's when I saw his profile and the like Discord ID. So the artist I was talking about is not the same person. I just didn't want to link the person's art, because if I link that on Twitter, you're going to see, like, there's only a few comments on it and that guy is one of them. So I don't want to, make it to where it's traceable back to him or whatever. Even though I did notice he took off his Discord ID on his profile after I sent him a request. I was like, hey, I'm glad nobody else is getting scammed and talking to you. You're gonna sit there and pretend you want to speak to people, but then every time they try to say something to you, you barely want to talk, or you're gonna ignore them throughout. Man, forget that's what I says. Always says, I was going through this exact same thing a few hours ago. I find with some women, you better not dare to express what bothers you, and they're the ones to randomly switch up the relationship. I'm trying to think. I know there have been some instances of that. I'm just trying to think which one was the most unusual. Because I have met some chicks where like they'll talk to you on the phone or like call whatever, and then they'll abruptly be like, "I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't want to speak to you this often as much." And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "You didn't have a problem with this last week." Like I said, man, I just like consistency. All that guy had to do was just agree to meet me halfway. Hey, you can go and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll send you a message every now and again, ask you how you're doing, what you've been up to." But it's like he characterized me asking him like, "How are you?" and what kind of stuff do you like as prying into his life. I even one time asked sent him a comment about because he posted a picture of his like collection of different anime related stuff. And I said, "Oh, I liked it. I noticed that you had the I think it was some show like all the seasons of it, right?" And he said it was a gift from somebody. Now, see, that's him volunteering information that I didn't ask for. Um, like I'm just trying to compliment him, and then he mentioned something about his own personal life. Like I said, it's I just think it's really ridiculous to try and say that I'm prying because remember, if when somebody asks you a question online, not in real life, you don't have to answer. So if somebody were to come to this stream and ask Megumi, how many times have you I don't know, had intercourse? He doesn't have to reply to that. He can if he wants to, but there's I can't force him to, and nobody else here can. Exactly 1 minute they want to speak to you on the phone for hours, and the next day you're a weird stalker who wants to carry on a relationship. Megumi says, "Yeah, that guy seemed like he was not interested in basic interaction with you, especially if he had never asked you any questions, attempt to get to know you, just basic courtesy." Dude, I'm just like the part that gets me is that he posted his Discord information on Twitter, like in his ID. Like the first thing when you go on his profile on Twitter is you see Discord and then like his name and the numbers. And it's like, why else would you post something like that if you don't want to talk to people? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. And you were talking about how like text Envoy was mentioning text conversations. I was forced to do that to speak to him because he said his microphone on his computer, whatever burnt out laptop he has, didn't work, so he couldn't VC, which is the equivalent of a phone call on Discord. Um, so like I basically compromised by being out of my comfort zone because I prefer to speak to people voice to voice, um, and still like got that result. The only regret I have is that it took me a little bit over a week to realize the same thing was happening over and over where I would see him online, say hello, ask him how he was doing, then he might maybe ask back, pretending like to care. Um, then you ask him like what's he up to, you know, and you notice that like he never initiates it with you. And outside of maybe asking back how you're doing, he never really inquires on if you're all right or not. And I'm just like, that's really lame. So that's one bizarre character down. And now we have to talk about the other one. So I've said before, I don't really use Twitter much anymore, other than to like go and read stuff that people write because sometimes somebody will write something I agree with, and it really is one of the worst websites. Because, like I said, YouTube, as bad as the people on here can be, it'll always be salvaged by videos and allowing people to like make creative stuff. There's a lot of things on here that are redeeming of it just as a thing to use and watch or whatever. Um, but anyways, I'm on Twitter, and there's a guy who is like posting some stuff about some movies, and he has in his profile his PSN, which is like it's his gamer profile, and he plays one of the same games I play. So I send him a friend request, or I ask him like, hey, if I send a friend request, you accept it? Can we play together? Because I don't know anybody else that plays most of the stuff I play. And over the next couple of days, I noticed that he hasn't accepted the request, even though he said he would. He's like, "Oh, I'll accept it when I go back online. I just haven't been in the gaming mood." I'm like, "All right, whatever," because I'm not about to sit here and rush people to, you know, click links or whatever. And at some point in his profile, he posts that he's gay. But well, let me backtrack a little bit because we're gonna get into like what he did that I thought was weird. Um, but anyways, he was like talking trash about different movies, and he mentioned some. I asked him about some movie that I really like. He said that it was okay to him, but he thought the ending was trash. And I don't know. I guess with me, whenever someone likes something that I don't, and I want to speak to them, it's like, and this just it's another one of those little like pet peeves I have, or just things I try to do is I kind of don't want to diss something I know they like if I'm speaking to them, I do temper my own language about it, um, because I like I'm not trying to annoy or irritate this person that likes this thing that I don't. But anyways, that was like one of the bigger things that made me just kind of go, okay, well, I'm not really. I don't know. It's just like a language or tone type of thing where you speak in these really dismissive terms of stuff that people enjoy, but if it's said about things you would like, you would be very upset. But anyways, in his profile, he posts that he's gay, and I make like this, and I just want to clarify, no issue here with people that are into whatever, but I make a joke about him being attracted to some male actor, and he would, if he saw him, he would do this or whatever, like ask him out, stuff like that. Again, just like because that's like a thing I do with some people I speak to. I try to make it sound as if they have this big, huge, successful, like I guess it's what TV shows call character shilling. You make jokes that are not really at the expense of the person, but kind of like implying that they would be very successful in some area or avenue. And so I make a joke about him and this male actor. Um, I'd say a pretty lighthearted one about, oh yeah, you no wonder you were trying to ask this guy out, this type of thing. He proceeds to send me a pornographic picture of a cartoon character uh drinking the banana of another male character. So when the second I see this, I go, yeah, I'm not interested in talking to you anymore. Now, like I said, I have no problem with gay people. I really couldn't care less if men like other men, if women like other women, doesn't bother me in the slightest. But I do have a problem with I put it this way. Most of the people that have been friends with me overwhelmingly are straight males. And it has never occurred to me to send a single one of them a picture that could be considered lewd or I guess NSFW or anything that like I would feel as if I could get some kind of reprisal, like, oh my God, this is so nasty. Now, some people that I've spoken to for years and I know that they're okay or they like this type of stuff, I'm more open to sending that, even though I still usually won't. But you get the idea, right? That this was like really nasty to me that you would send an image like that to someone who you've only known for like maybe a week or two. Like, I just I was just sitting there. I was like, man, I gotta delete my conversation with this person. I want to look at that thing. I don't know. I like the biggest like because I've said before, I understand why people like porn, but I'm gonna make this very clear. I have no interest in seeing whether it's a cartoon version or a real life version, another man's genitalia. Like I don't want to see that ever in anything. And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch porn because I don't like seeing that type of stuff. But you get the idea that like that I don't I'm more disturbed by the idea that he thought that was something that he could send to me and I would be all right with it or like not be like what the hell? I don't know. It's like people just send all types of weird stuff to each other online. It was out of the blue because I wasn't even making like I'll put it to you like this. Imagine if you said, "Oh, you're probably trying to get a date with," and then you enter female celebrity's name, right? And I go, "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" And you go, "Yeah, you're trying to uh, go on a date with her." And then I send you like maybe a picture because he sent me a picture of a computer before that and was like, "Oh, nowhere was this set," or something like that. Just like again, it's like more light joking about being attracted to some woman. And then after I seen this picture of a computer and you're like telling me about how, oh, you got that computer from this woman because she was so dazzled by you, she bought your computer. I send you a picture of a woman licking a guy's banana, and I'm like, oh, she would get a lot more from me than that. You'd be like, what is with this weird lewd image out of nowhere? I'm just saying, I think there's some stuff you just shouldn't send strangers, like people that you don't know and that you've only spoken to for a little bit. It was very out of the blue. I did not expect that at all. Like every other image he had sent me had just been something like maybe like a meme or a GIF or something, just like regular stuff. But that was weird. So after I saw that, I got rid of him yesterday. I'm not interested in people that like to send those types of images over. I don't know. It's just personally, I would rather send stuff like stuff that's NSFW, lewd, whatever you want to call it, to people that I feel really comfortable with. Like I know that they're into that stuff. And I certainly wouldn't do it with someone that I'd only known for a week or less, or like I don't know, just I'd have to really be confident that a person was okay with that stuff to think it's all right to send that to them. Like you can't just assume that because you think something is okay that other people do as well. I mean, remember we've had like whole like multiple chicks, right? You could just describe the romance stuff and they'll get offended by it and like try to argue with you about it. So you again, that's what I'm saying. You never know what people are okay with and what they're not okay with, and that's why you shouldn't run the risk. It just seems so weird to me. Like that's like you would send that to another person. I don't know. It's just weird. There's a level of social decorum that people often abide by when they conversate. It would be like me meeting you for the first time and I spit on my hand before shaking yours. That's really what the internet has turned into because anybody like it's like 80 something percent of all people in the world use the internet. Um that means any crazy person can come on here and message you or you message them whatever and you just have to hope that they're not completely insane. They probably used to usually do that to all the friends they speak to and have a laugh or get off to. Well, I guess, but again, remember, I'm not a troll or someone that's messing with them. So you really would want to run the risk of offending a person, of like creeping out, offending whatever a person that you apparently like speaking to. I'm just saying it's not a decision I think was very wise. I would never send an image like that to anybody. Hey, imagine if after he sent that picture, I'm like, I was so disgusted because while you may be part of the LGBT community, to quote another friend of mine, I'm not interested in anyone's life. It's definitely not something I'll do or have ever done. But yeah, that was pretty insane. Man, this pornographic image for just, I mean, and it's like what gets me is that, because like, again, I'm not a little kid. I know people speak in lewd or crass manners, but I've never felt like tempted to send an image like any type of not safe for work or lewd image to someone that I didn't know for some long time or feel, like they were okay with it. Because I do know some people online that like that type of stuff. So, if I did send it to one of them, I can reasonably infer they're not going to be offended or grossed out or whatever. These guys do a lot of stuff you wouldn't do or have ever done, I'm sure. I mean, do you honestly think you would put your Discord tag up for people to, speak to you, and then after they try to message you, you never start anything with them, and you're like, I'm not interested in anyone's life. It's like what? I don't think you would do that either. Man, this all happened in like the last 2 weeks. That's what's crazy to me. Like they both didn't even last half a month because it's like they were running at record speed for how much weird, crazy stuff they could do. And it's like with that guy, I didn't even feel like explaining to him why that picture disturbed me. It's like if you really can't understand why you shouldn't be sending those types of images to someone that you don't know, like I might as well be talking to a little kid. So I said the internet has turned into this place where people just feel like they can do whatever and there's no consequence. And I would rather just cut these people off than put up with their stuff indefinitely. Because if you're gonna sit there and write weird things, and like again, I was tolerant of him bashing movies I liked, or the fact that you know because this is the second one where they have a game that you have and they just can never find the even though they're online all damn day long every day, they can never find the time to actually like play with you on the same game that they claim to enjoy because of their mood or their like they just can't be bothered to ever set it up. But the straw that broke the camel's back was that image. It was like there is no way in any reasonable reality where that made any sense to send to somebody that you barely know. That was really gross. I just think people have like they have really allowed this stuff to fester and just be crazy. But that first guy's so weird because it's like I just think it's bizarre to you know what I mean about like the contradictions of putting up your tag so people can send you a message and then like not actually really wanting to talk to people. Dude, that wouldn't even cross my mind, especially if I barely even know the person. Why can't they be just a little considerate of how others may react to stuff? Dude, I haven't been that surprised and like simultaneously disgusted since that one morning my dad sent me a video and it was this guy on a dash cam and he was just driving in like around whatever. And in the video, he's like, "Oh, subscribe to PewDiePie," and then he goes into this mosque and shoots and kills like 50 or 60 people on video. I'm that like I just thought it was a regular like I knew something was up with it for it to even be sent by him to me. But it was like, what could this be? Like that completely shocked me, and I wanted to vomit after I watched that. God, some of the stuff you get from people is just I think there was this one troll who was on like those people that send those fake messages on your phone. They're like, I am an African prince and you need to donate to me. There was some guy that sent me a video and it starts with a woman in her bed like singing some song or whatever, and then it just suddenly cuts to a guy cutting his own banana. Told you I've been sent all kind of weird stuff by people, but it's like Again, this is someone who apparently wanted me to still speak to them, and they're gonna send me a picture like that. No. See, Envoy decided to leave. He ventured off to another territory. He was like, "I'm gonna keep my indefinite hiatus up." Those kind of images can certainly scar someone for life. I've never forgotten that video of the woman singing the song in her bed, and then all of a sudden it transitions to a guy cutting his you know what off. Like I still remember that the woman is like sitting in this little pink bed sheets or whatever, and then the guy is like, it's the camera I think is off his face, and then he's like, it's not even just one cut. It's like a whole minute or two of that, and I was like, who the hell even like what's wrong with you to even make this? Because you know what it is, right? The woman thing is supposed to lure you into thinking it's like a sweet video or something, and then it transitions to that. But like I've never forgotten that because of how just crazy and a mood whiplash that was like, and the fact that you would even send that to another human being, just like for what, you know? So some of the stuff you get like that wasn't even over the internet stuff. That was just like like from like phone messages, like people sending weird stuff on the phone. Yeah, traps is what people usually call them. Most send them to others for giggles. Well, yeah, but the problem is they since it's on the phone, and it's not like we're messaging each other or anything. I didn't say anything back when this was sent. They don't know what my reaction to it was. So it's like, well, it's like you're just hoping I click on this link. What if I don't click on the link? Oh no, my dastardly plan is foiled. You know what I mean? Like they don't it doesn't really work if they can't if like they have no record or way of seeing how I react to it. They just have to hope I click it. Man, what does it tell you when you live in a world where like you could want something as basic as a person to talk to and they won't even do the most basic of things. I mean, how hard is it to ask somebody how they're doing? Or how hard is it to say, "Hey, you know, what kind of stuff do you like?" Oh, you have this game as well. Hey, we can play it together next week. Why is it tough to do those things? That's why I said that like I've always felt as if there are a lot of people who try to get you to believe in this idea that you just want too much. Like you that like by wanting to speak to somebody and have a reasonable and decent dialogue, you are asking for someone to move mountains, right? But again, it's like I've met people who will ask you basic stuff, you know, and be interested in talking to you and not and like actually call you and reach out to you. It's like why do you have to have one-sided relation like friendships and all the rest of this crap with people? I don't understand. I really don't get where it's tough to just say hello to another human being, especially one who reached out to you. How hard is it to just say, "How are you?" "Hey, what's up?" without any like prompting. Just to segue into phone messages a bit, I should mention I do recall encountering some so-called chicks on Discord that act like they want to talk to you, but then they will abruptly ask you to get them a gift card. Oh yeah. Um, I get a lot of spam messages from different women who are like, "Hello, dear, I posted my new images on this website, and if you come to this cam girl place and donate this, you can, you know, it's so blatantly obvious to like I you'd have to be a really stupid person to think that was a real woman because they don't even, at least as bad as a lot of the chicks are online, at the very least most of them will talk to you for a little bit before they do something stupid or do something that's like out not in your best interest. They will like these ones will so blatantly like send some picture where they're posing like this, and it will be to you like as a complete stranger. But yeah, I know it's the same thing where they want gift cards and donate to this and send me a link here, and I'm like, who believes this stuff? I think I mentioned before there was a chick from like 6 years ago, it was back when I used to still use dating websites, and that's to tell you how long ago that was. Who posted, because you know how chicks are, they post their age, they post I like long walks on the beach, whatever. And I sent her a message, and then after like maybe an hour of speaking, she's like, "Oh, can you go and visit me on this website because I'm actually a cam girl, e-hooker." And I was like, "What?" And what's crazy is after revealing this stuff, she had the nerve to say, "Oh, but you know, if you donate and come to my site, you know, I can come and see you and I can come travel to visit you." And I was just thinking to myself, "Oh, do you realize how many men you've probably told this to? Do you really think I'm gonna fall for this? Do you really think I'm so egotistical as to believe that you, the hooker who's probably seen more genitalia than the number of men that live in the biggest state in the United States of California, is going to fall in love with me if I go on your stupid website and spend like who believes this stuff?" No, she really tried to convince me if I go on this website where she's doing her little e-hooker show or whatever, she's going to come and fly to my city and see me, and we can go on dates and talk to each other. It's like, dude, how many men do you think she told the exact same thing to before she gypped them? It's like, I'm not stupid. And that's why I said that, like, it's so crazy to me because that was in that happened in the year leading up to the like why don't approach anymore video. It's always crazy to me to think of how much stuff I experienced only because of like the desperation of wanting to be in a relationship. Like how much of this could have been avoided if you met someone in real life and then you dated them and like like if you got like the actual thing that somebody would want instead of having to sign up and do all this stuff to try to even get anything from chicks. But it was like that one really wanted me to believe that she was going to like how remember how Vegeta abandoned his his Saiyan ways when he became domesticated on Earth? I'm supposed to believe she's going to abandon her hooker ways and become interested in only me and fly to my state and my city and like who buys that junk? Yeah, exactly. Certainly agree with you. It's just sad because I'm sure there are some unfortunate, gullible guys out there who will fall for this. Man, they like that's what's so scary about women, dude. Like if they just go up to some guy and they tell him something, they can get him to do all kinds of crazy stuff. You remember, we haven't really discussed this in detail, but you've had plenty of women who have been responsible for different men getting murdered because she'll tell her boyfriend, "Hey, this guy's been messing with me," and then they'll take him and do etc. etc. Um, and it's just it like the control that women have over men can be very scary. But nothing's worse than having some woman who, for all you know, has seen again more male genitalia than the amount of men that live in California. And she's gonna like sit here and try to get you to believe that she'll abandon her ways and become solely interested in you if you donate to this stupid website that she's like I I'd have to be like really, and all of this happened, like when I was in, I think 12th grade. It's like I'd have to be really, really stupid to have believed that. And I'm glad I didn't. Dude, that was, it's so funny to think about. That happened right around the time I met the gold digger. So like that was like the prologue to the gold digger saga. Like before you date this woman who starts begging you for money every day, you need to have some encounters with other lousy chicks. Get you prepared for the next big arc of stupid stuff with chicks. That was right before that happened. That was like February of 2016. I think is when I met the is when like the gold digger stuff happened, and that because I remember when I that was like I was like, all right, I'm gonna be done with chicks after this year. That was like those dating websites all are in the earlier part of that year because I just got so sick of them that I just delete all that stuff a long time ago. Like I was only on dating websites for maybe a couple of months because I just got tired of it, man. But it's crazy to think all that happened just back to back. Like it was nonstop, just stupid stuff with chicks. It's really crazy. Like sometimes I feel like making a woman timeline because I have to remind myself like that happened before this, then this happened, and this happened. Like it really was like the only time you get any break for them from them is just not speaking to them, period. But it seems like every time you try to dip your toe in the water and just talk to some woman, they'll find a way to like make you regret it. Like why did I even bother? Man, in these last 2 weeks, we've had two weird encounters with different guys. I don't know. I'm not too upset because these are only people I knew for like a short amount of time, but I'm always disturbed by the idea that there's like a basic thing I want from the people I speak to, and it's so difficult to even be able to get that. Like there are so many chicks and also some guys as well that are on these different websites, and they'll be on that website, not even joking, all day long, and they won't send you a single message or ask you how you're doing or anything. Like you basically don't even like it's really crazy because they'll tell you that they appreciate speaking to you, they like speaking to you, but they just can never take any initiative at all. I like what you said about how this all would have been avoided if at least one chick reciprocated. Just thinking about that is pretty mind blowing. Well, yeah, man, because you got to remember all the crazy stuff that happens with women, with the exception of some of the ones on Discord, which even that is dubious because like I said, there's like I don't ask out many of them at all ever. Like I've said before, I haven't asked out chicks in years, but like I still am open to romantic stuff if it's I'm talking about where like if they ever did what men do and like make their interest in someone known, then we could actually progress, but they don't do that. But you have to remember all of this stuff goes back to the first time I was turned down in 2011. Because when that happened, I went to another school the next year and asked out in chick when I was in like ninth grade, and that one said no. And then, I didn't really ask any out after that until like the next school year. And then, there was pretty much um after getting turned down by because I would always have like one female classmate I would really like, and they would say no. After getting turned down by one in seventh, eighth, and ninth grade, I had no more singular focus. Like there was never just one woman. The closest any of them came after that was this one I met in 10th. I was in 10th grade, she was in 12th grade. Um, but from that point forward, the stuff where I was going online and, oh, let me go and ask this woman out at the mall or at the mall, like all of that, those are all spin-offs and directly caused by the continued complete lack of attention that I would get from any of my female contemporaries, either the schools I went to or, just like this, all this stuff started to happen because you kept getting the same result, no matter how many of them you asked out from any of the different schools you attended. So you look for another areas and then you start getting into this crazy. Like, I really thought to myself, I was like, wow, if I hadn't have become so disillusioned from asking out, I hate to say girls, but women in real life when I was in like 11th grade, right? Because that was when I kept, like, I asked out the most of any school year up until that point. I would have never even tried any of this online stuff. Like, I would have never signed up for any dating websites. I would have never gone on Reddit because I was on there like every day for like a whole year asking out the different chicks that put up the R for R's. All of that stuff would have been like, would have just never happened if I met one in real life and had been, because like I said, there's plenty of people like I know who date one person for 8 months, a year, and they like each other. So yeah, if that had happened, none of this other stuff would have occurred. Oh, and yeah, it's too hard to just have basic courtesy. I certainly can relate to your friends online to ever initiate speaking with you at all, yet you see them online for pretty much all day. Because remember, on a site like Twitter, even though they don't have an online feature that tells the person's online, if you go into their replies, you can see some people, it's like last reply 10 minutes ago. Reply before that was 20 minutes ago. Reply for that was 22 minutes ago. Like some of them, I'm not even joking, they tweet 30, 40 times a day from like 10, like let's say 8 in the morning. They wake up 8 in the morning and they're tweeting until like 5 in the afternoon or 6 in the afternoon. It's like they can't be bothered to send you one message asking how you're doing and trying to speak to you. And it drives me nuts because it's like, damn, why do you have to do all this crazy stuff? And I'm talking about? It's just like it's so hard to get people to just want to talk to you. And that's why I said, because when that guy was saying the thing about he's not interested in anyone's life, he's basically conveying that he would do this with anyone. So this isn't even about me being boring or anything like that, which I don't believe that is anyway the case anyway. Because like I said, I had him respond to me for days, and I could have kept that going if I wanted to, but I just don't want to waste anybody's time. But it's like I just think it's so sad that you constantly make an effort to speak to people, and that's the result you get. You get a guy that says he's not interested in anybody's life and can't be bothered to ever say anything to you first, and one that sends you some like crazy cartoon porn. That's why I said, it's just forget it, man. Oh, and by the way, the other one, uh, I mean, like he's so I don't try to trash people for, I guess liking stuff that I don't like but it's like even with the other one that said the thing about I'm not interested in anyone's life at because I was on his profile and he was liking some picture where it was a woman licking a banana, but at least with him he knows not to send something like that to you because he doesn't like, like at least he to me he struck me as someone who's much more normal, even if he's saying some crazy crap on the computer and act, like to me, he was someone who would just be easier to get along with if you know him in real life. But he had to ruin it. I'm not interested in anyone's life. Dude, it's so funny how all the romance stuff is just like offshoots of each other. Like in the continued pursuit of just trying to get a date, you will find yourself asking out chicks at different schools you go to, at the mall, on the internet, on like either basic websites like Twitter or I'm not even joking. I don't think there's a single website I've been on where I haven't tried to like seriously pursue some woman that I was interested in. Like all of them have been the breeding ground for me meeting some broad that I tried to have some romantic thing with, and it was like it didn't work out or whatever, and I said to hell with it. But like I always remember 2016 as like really being the straw that broke the camel's back Because like back then, I knew the dingbat before she had the kid, and I would sit there and think to myself, she has a boyfriend that asked her out, that pays for her stuff while she, is not really doing anything for him. And it's like this relationship has gone on for now 2 years, and it's going to go on a hell of a lot longer because of like what we know in hindsight. But I was like, I'm almost out of high school, and like we still have gotten nothing. And it's like this certainly hasn't been for a lack of trying. You've asked out as many chicks as you can think, and I just said that like that's because remember disparity, right? I didn't truly notice disparity until like that year. I was like, man, it's why do you have to do all of this stuff for so little, for basically nothing? And that's what drove me crazy. Like, how long are you supposed to put up with this? I just said, forget it, man. It was driving me really crazy. Because that year I really did sit back and go, this isn't right. This isn't okay. Like you've had a lot of people who will say some men are good at this, some men are good, but I really thought back and I was like, I know other guys with this same problem, and every time, like basically guys that don't have this problem seem to be in the minority. Just like from the ones I would meet in real life, I remember being very scarred during the time I was leaving school and still hadn't progressed in this endeavor. Yeah. Because again, it's like you see classmates who hold hands, who make out. I remember when I was in like ninth and 10th grade, there was one couple, they would go and sit on I guess on the football field, football stadium, whatever. They would go and sit together in like a little part of the area and do all kind of crazy stuff. Not like anything overt, but like hold hands, make out. And I used to see that a lot when I was in school. Just different couples like being together and like just enjoying each other's company, talking to each other. And for the life of me, I would always say to myself, why can I not experience this? Why am I not allowed to have this? Did I commit some great sin? Because I would sit back and I would go, everything they tell you to do, you've done. Like you as the male, unfortunately, are supposed to be the one that always asks out and always initiates things. And it's like you're just never good enough. And it's funny how in hindsight, it's like things have only gotten worse because back then I didn't have people on the internet trying to analyze my personality and attack me or whatever. But I don't know. It's on like it's really interesting how you can take something as basic as human compassion and like a desirability for humans to like be around each other, like to have friends, to be involved with some woman in some healthy romantic way where you both enjoy each other's company. And you can, by virtue of having a bunch of men who do weird stuff like the two I mentioned here, and a bunch of chicks that do weird stuff that drags out this process, like the ones we've talked about on here for years, you can artificially take these two normal facets of life that pretty much any regular guy would just say, yeah, I'd like that, and drag them out and extend them and make them basically impossible to have. And that's why I told you all those analysis about and I might do another video about this, but I just want you to understand this whole saga with women, this years long garbage that we've been in, has never been about your height or how much charisma you have or your muscles or your wealth. It's all been screwed up and geared against you because you're the wrong gender. Think of how many chicks you've never heard of, but have 10, 20, 30 guys asking them out. How many chicks don't have muscles or are overweight? And you're told that you need to go to the gym and exercise for that? You can't tell me that that's anything other than a clear bias in favor of the opposite gender. I was told by a female classmate that I wasn't bad looking or anything, but still was never able to have at least one chick be interested in me romantically. Right, and that's why I said that this is not about you, because like I said before, man, getting bogged down in physical appearance is a waste of time because there are plenty of chicks that you and I do not find attractive. We may disagree on which ones are unattractive, but there are chicks that we don't find attractive. And guess what they'll still have? Boyfriends, men that are interested in speaking to them, men that approach them, men that ask them out. Because just because you or I do not find them attractive doesn't mean we speak for all men or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The chicks always have men interested in them, especially the ones who weren't with anyone who'd say you're a nice person, etc., but still will never ironically attempt to try something with you. Yeah, I told you the way I told you like chicks are so interesting to me because in a way, a lot of them are promiscuous and like very open to just doing nasty stuff with random men that they are not committed to. But the other part of it is that at the same time as they're promiscuous and interested in doing all this nasty stuff with guys they're not committed to, they also act like they're these like very conservative nuns who are trying to come off as being better than their male counterparts. Like, we talked about how you have chicks that get offended when some man will say the B word, right? And we also discussed how they took something as simple as a date, which is we've explained this before. It's not a big deal. It's something if you don't want to do it again, you never have to do it again with that person ever if you don't like it. They took something as simple as a date and they inorganically transformed it into this thing that you need to go on an arduous quest for. And you'll need to go on this big quest for it if you're a woman because you're a man. The whole concept of self improvement is purely performative confidence. Sure, but remember, we talked about this before. Self improvement is a joke because every time you do things to improve, you are going to have this segment of people, some mostly men, but sometimes some women as well, who, if you're not able to get a woman after doing the things to improve, they're just going to say you did something wrong. So it's just another tool to make you more miserable and to keep raising goalposts so you can be blamed indefinitely for the decisions of women. No, there's a whole bunch that never tried to. Like I remember when I was in ninth grade, there was this chick I really liked, and she broke up with her boyfriend who went to school somewhere else, and she was posting the most wallowing in the mud messages about herself. Oh, I guess I'm bound to not be with anybody. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, you stupid, brainless bimbo. I asked you out. I showed interest in you. Like you're not going to get any sympathy from me because I made an attempt to get to know you. I don't know. Just like that's why it's so hard for me to feel sympathetic towards chicks because there have been times where I believed, and I still do believe, I will ultimately like be by myself indefinitely unless it's like a gold digger, some other like undesirable fate, right? I never had some woman that was like, "Hey, I was interested in you. Let's do something together." But she did with me, and it's like that same person who's sitting there and writing about how she thinks she will never be with anyone because she's trying to paint herself as this sympathetic character is in actuality an individual who believes she is better than you. She is too good for you, which is why you should not feel sympathetic to her because she's choosing to be single. She's not like you where it's like a thing that's like forced upon you because women never show any interest in you. She's choosing to ignore, like to wallow about a guy that broke up with or whatever. And then the one that says, "Hey, I'm interested in you," you get thrown to the wayside and ignored. No one actually cares about self improvement. It's just a thing people can use to keep raising the bar into infinity and blaming you for not reaching Said bar. I really, when I was reading, I thought you were gonna put to keep raising the bar into infinity and beyond, like Buzz Lightyear. Somebody should make a movie or a video where they're like, well, I'll come back to. I'm reading Gumi Road. Exactly, they choose to be single. That's what it is. Like I'm, and again, this person goes on Twitter. "No, he broke up with me. I'm gonna be single by myself forever and ever and ever." But they have men at every point in their lives from the time they're in middle school. I'm not joking when I say that, especially if they're online, to the time that they're adults, where they like just constantly men, or boys, whatever, coming and showing it. So anytime one of them is single, they will like look at Triple L. It's like I I'm just gonna say this. You might think when a woman is single that means there's like a higher chance you're going to get with her, but you always have to ask yourself, why is she by herself? What like again, there's a lot of men that go on dating websites. They don't want to be single. They want to actually meet somebody. But why are there these chicks who are conventionally attractive, chicks that you think are attractive anyway? Like you have to wonder, why is she not married? Why does she not, like why is she in this scenario? Did she really just never have anything work out because all the guys were just jerks, or was it something she did? I mean, you really, that's something that you should think about next time you see some woman who's single that you think is pretty. Before you cheer and celebrate that she's single, ask yourself, why is that the case? Because remember, chicks are not burdened by the same curse that you or I are, where they have to sit there and ask out men year after year. With men, that's our curse. But ask yourself, why is she by herself? Because if it's a decision she made, like she broke up with these guys, said they're not good enough for her, you can pretty much kiss your chances goodbye. I think people should improve themselves for their own benefit. But here's the problem with that. Every time self-improvement gets mentioned anywhere, it's always, at least as far as I can tell, it's always in the context of this woman stuff. I don't do a video about the news and then somebody goes, "Hey, I think you should go and get muscle." Never. I don't do a video about Dragon Ball and then, "Hey, I think you should go and get some sensu beans." It's only with this woman stuff. Hell, even in real life, I go and work some job or just go outside. I don't have random people coming up to me and telling me that I need to go to the gym and uh, work on my like skills or what. Like it's always, yes, it's a very weaponized term, and that's why I said this. Like, listen, self improvement is a term that people that men and some women use when they want to attack other men over what they perceive as their inability to enter a romantic relationship with a woman. It never gets used in any other context besides that. Hell, I could be bad at a video game and nobody tells me to self improve. They just say, "Hey, I'll give you some tips. We'll play together." That term is always used in the mantra of trying to get some guy to keep doing stuff to ask out a bunch of women that don't have to do anything besides have a triangle between their legs. It'll only get brought up in service of chicks. Yes, there is nothing else I've ever done, and I do mean that. Even like there's no other thing I've ever done where people go up and they're like, "You should work on yourself and improve." The never. It's only with this woman stuff. That's the only time I got all the personality analysis. That's the only time I have people trying to attack me and say that I'm ugly and all this other crap. It's like this is the only subject you can discuss where these things will get brought up. Man, it's a really sad cycle. But remember, women are not all the same. They're very different from each other. That's why conveniently year after year you can't find one that wants to go on a date with you because they're all very different from each other. To imagine what I would look like if some woman for like let's say 5 years, right? Every single week, she has two or three guys that come up to her and they go, "Hey, baby, can I get your number?" And she's very put off by this. She thinks they're too abrasive, etc. And I tell her, "Don't worry. There's going to be a guy that will come up to you and speak to you in a cordial manner, and you know, he won't speak to you in this like really, I guess you feel dehumanizing way." And every year, every single week for those 5 years, she hears, "Hey, baby, can I get your number? Yo, girl, I gotta get your number." And then at the end of this 5 years, she says, "Look, I appreciate you being optimistic, but I'm still getting these like really abrasive individuals coming up and asking me for my number." And then I say to her, "Well, not all men are the same." And she looks back at me like I'm the stupidest person on planet Earth because she's gonna think to herself, well, hell, I didn't claim they all were, but if every single time one of them asks me out, they say these exact same lines, they clearly can't be that different, or it clearly is not something that matters. Their supposed differences from each other. Just like I had that one idiot that was talking about, there are women who want kids. Like, sure, but if you get turned down by women who don't want children, the same way that you would get turned down by ones who do want children, what difference does it make? I'm just saying, what difference does it make if you get the same result? It's so weird when it comes to dating. Women are a collective when it's convenient to attack you, but individuals when it suits them. But that's what I thought was so weird. I don't like if we actually go through all the messages of this harassment stuff, it's mostly men. Like chicks, in my view, are completely fine with having a couple of guys talk about how stupid the stuff they do is, or the stuff they do can be, and like going out and doing whatever. Like, because I'm telling you, every time I see these antagonistic comments, it's other men, and remember, this has nothing to do with them. So that's what I think is crazy. Like this, most of the opposition for talking about chicks is males. That's nuts. Seriously, what when did we get to a point where people just sit around and attack others over pretty much anything? Like, I really would love to know when that started. But yeah, the woman stuff is always going to be a thing I find fascinating in terms of how absurd it got. Because when it started, it was a boy who was trying to get a date. A boy who had seen classmates go on dates, had like knew people, did romantic stuff together. And it went from that to being this thing where it's now a man who's not interested in talking to chicks at all, basically, who gets harassed by other men over a decision he made that has nothing to do with them, who gets told to self improve by the same people who, if he does any of the stuff they tell him to do, are just going to find another reason to blame him. Who gets told that women are not all the same, but then every time he asks one of them out or shows any interest in any of them, it goes the same way. It's interesting how like it became this thing that got more and more and more absurd as it went on. Like I never would have thought I would have lived to see the day where a woman could ask you out, like could ask you on a date. and then end up rejecting you. Like, I still wrap my head around that. I like, and it's like there are so many weird highlights of the romance saga that are just disturbing to me. I mean, the only woman you're ever gonna date is really just gonna be a gold digger. That's the only one you'll ever have had who said she was your girlfriend at any point for the rest of your life. Really? So I said, people are just crazy, man. And like they sit here and they coddle to these women, and it's like, dude, I get it. You think one of them's attractive, whatever, but you can't allow this stuff to destroy your mind. Because like I said, the alternative to what I suggest is something that I don't think is appealing. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life asking out a bunch of chicks that aren't interested in you and then harassing other men that don't want to talk to them and do the same thing that you do? Do you really want to go to the gym every week and then when a woman turns you down, you're supposed to just keep going and doing more of the same that these people tell you to do who are just going to blame you anyway? That's what you want for yourself? Do you really want to talk to some woman for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, a year, just so she might maybe go on a date with you? Seriously, like that's why I stopped. There's nothing appealing about this. Like when you deny someone something for so long and you keep trying to find ways to put them down, because chicks have been used as a way of attacking me for a long time now, right? Oh, you're not, you're boring. Oh, you're ugly, and you just sit back and you're like, why does it have to be this way? Like, there's something wrong with the group of people when the only purpose for their existence, as it pertains to you, is to be used as a means of attacking you. Because remember, Akatsuki Merchant, in this example I'm giving, he's not dating a woman or married to her or has a family with her or any other thing that could be considered meaningful or a scenario that would be fun or enjoyable for him. He's going out and asking them out. They turn him down, and then they get used as ammo by different people on the internet to attack him with. That's a rancid group. But I told you that the alternative that these people suggest is not good. Like, do you really want to sit around hating yourself because some random woman wouldn't go on a date with you? Like, why do you have to have discontent with who you are because of a series of random broads who have accomplished nothing themselves? Like, I just don't understand that. And remember, there are plenty of chicks who date men and it still doesn't work out. They still break up with them, they still divorce them. And you're gonna sit here and tell me that they're excellent uh witnesses are judges of character and they can tell you who's a good man and who isn't. You've seen some of the trash that women have dated. I certainly don't. I actually care about myself. I really don't know why it has to be this way. Things could be so much different and more pleasant. Absolutely. Imagine how much better off you would be, or anyone else any other man you like or care about or are invested in the slightest bit. If all you had to do to date a woman was maybe you talk to like three of them in real life, maybe five, and out of those five, two are interested, one is interested, and the one you go on a date with, you enjoy it. Um, and then you go on another one, and then when that woman wants something out of you, you compromise with her, she compromises with you. Wouldn't that be so much better than playing this musical chairs redundant nonsense of meet a woman, show interest in her. She shows no interest back. Get turned down. Get attacked by men online. Meet a woman, show interest in her. She shows no interest back, get rejected, get attacked online. Meet a like, do you really want to do that for the rest of your life? Because remember, these computer pricks don't stop just when like if you successfully get a date and your relationship with this broad doesn't work out and these guys know about it, they'll attack you for that anyways. Things, yeah, that's what I was saying. Things could be so much different and more pleasant. And they act like we talked about the demented how like the woman stuff has destroyed people's minds. But you have these weird psychiatrist wannabes, right? And they tell you that, oh, you don't want to date a woman, you don't want to be in a relationship. And it's like, how stupid do you have to be to think that a guy that goes and asks out a whole bunch of different chicks year after year is someone who doesn't want to be with one of them? Like what kind of sense like that's as backwards as the people who tell someone who applies for 200 jobs every year, you don't want to be employed. Because remember, you're the only one making an effort. There sure as hell are no chicks that are trying to talk to you. Certainly not for me. I really don't know why it has to be this way either. I've told you before, I think it is a combination of social media, the fact that we have a feminist era where they've taken everything that's like appealing and everything that's not appealing and basically tried to separate them so they get the appealing part of like having men ask them out and approach them and buy them stuff, etc. But then like the equal part of feminism of, oh, we should have to ask men out as well and um get stuff for them too. They don't want to have anything to do with that because it's not pleasant for them to have to actually show some kind of 50-50 effort. um but things do not have to be this way. They have been coddled and allowed to treat men in these types of manners, and we've had to pay the price for it, unfortunately. um Envoy writes, one thing I've noticed, there seems to be an emotional hierarchy, and men simply just don't come out on top with expressing themselves in comparison to women, nor do men get the support. Obviously, it's not the case in every situation. Look, like I told you, society, at least American society, hates men. It either hates you or it cares almost nothing whatsoever about you. Think of how many times you see a homeless person, some guy that, and like, think of how many times that homeless person is a man. Think of how many times you see people donating to somebody that's not a content creator and how many times that tends to be a woman. Megumi says, dude, I'd certainly be very content with just having that, having at least 3 to 5 or so chicks to interact with, one or two of them show interest, the others be respectful and make compromises, etc. Yeah, but like, here's the thing: no one is upset about getting like. This is why it's always been so frustrating to me that people have tried to paint. You remember that one dumb broad edging toward extremism? It's like we understand as human beings that rejection is part of life. Even though, like I said, it seems like chicks never get rejected, but that's besides the point. But when you continuously give someone the same result over and over again, no matter what they do, they could talk to a woman for half a year, they could talk to a woman for a whole year. They could have the woman say she likes speaking to them. They could have the woman say that they're boring. They could have the woman um, talk to this guy for hours on end and laugh at every joke that he makes. You could have a woman who you only saw one time in the store. It's like if you keep getting the same results no matter what the scenarios and events leading up to that were, you're going to get discouraged. You're going to say, this is hopeless. This is a bottomless hellhole pit that only exists because chicks do stupid. Like, I mean, come on. Yeah, different configurations, same results. And there's something wrong with that. You know how crazy it is that, like, I go up to some woman in some store and I go and say, "Hey, I like you. Can I have your number?" And she says no. You won't even see me make a video about it. It doesn't matter. You can get that same result from a woman who sits there and talks to you for months on end and gasses you up and tells you about how much she likes speaking to you and how much you mean to her and how she feels this connection with you. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. That's a backwards mentality. What and again, you never see the reverse. I don't know any men that'll talk to some woman that they're not interested in for a year. Like, what's like? That's why I said that, like, this stuff doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. And it's like when you have the people who say you don't want to be in a relationship, it's like you're a complete idiot if you believe that. Nobody who goes out and asks out a whole bunch of women and does a bunch of stuff that they already don't feel comfortable with, like signing up for dating websites, going to the damn mall. You know how many times I went to the mall on a Saturday or like through the week and I didn't even feel like going up there? I could have been sleeping or laying there playing some game. But you did all this stuff to make efforts to meet them, and it all was futile. But you're going to tell the only person who tried to make things different that they're the reason it stayed the same. Nowadays, when the girl says all that I paid no mind to me, it's only actions. I've heard a bunch of lip service. I've heard you're so funny, charming, sweet. I want to see you. Then it just doesn't amount to anything. Only actions. That's important. Oh yeah. I mean, hey, we remember the phrase we had, Megumi. I know he knows what I'm talking about. In spite of everything they've told you, eventually they will hate you. Why bother? But it's so funny how these people really convince themselves that we want things to be this way. You don't ask out a bunch of chicks and do plenty of stuff that you don't want to do if you want to be single indefinitely. Like it's just it's a really stupid contradiction on their part. God, man, it's like that's why I said I think people need to just they need to like stop pretending to be psychiatrists because there are so many things that have happened that have been out of my control that I didn't want. Like, do you really think I wanted to go and be on some dating websites and talk to some random chicks that stop messaging you because they forget to log into their accounts? Do you really think I want to talk to a bunch of chicks for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months? And again, I know it doesn't have to be this way because I know it has not always been this way. My grandparents, they met in 64. Um, and after knowing each other for a couple of weeks, they went on a date. They thought it was nice. They went on some more dates over the next 8 years and they got married and stayed married for over four. But my point is, there have been couples in history, even as recently as a generation or two ago, where it was a man who met a woman, they liked each other, they spent time together, they enjoyed each other's company. That it had nothing to do with no exercising and no becoming famous and having none of this other garbage. But I'm just saying, I use that as an example because I know it doesn't have to be this way. We're living in bipolar times, or as those videos Justin did back in the day, that was thoroughly entertaining, the Twilight Zone. It really is. I mean, it's only in the Twilight Zone where you can be told to go and exercise and get muscles to possibly ask out a woman that maybe either doesn't exercise or is 300 pounds herself. It's only in the Twilight Zone where you would have to be someone who needs to get their wealth or money up to date a woman that lives in the box. It's only in the Twilight Zone where you would have to have fame or status to date a woman that nobody's ever heard of. I'm not even joking. If I ever ask out another woman again, it's going to be a famous one. Like because all the stuff that people want you to do, all these little like advice pieces, that sounds like something you would do for some extraordinary woman that's accomplished something of some great noteworthiness. So that would be the only instance where I would think of even attempting to ask one of them out. And if I did, it would be tongue in cheek because I would fully expect to get turned down, and I wouldn't feel bad either because nobody is going to try to make you feel bad for being turned down by a woman that is like well known. No normal no sensible person, I mind you. Those videos he did are very relevant and truthful of just how backwards things were back then, how progressively bad things, how progressively bad they've gotten to the present. Sadly, the bar has been raised to ridiculous standards. There have been some viral clips going on of college girls, mind you, college girls saying they want someone who makes six figures, which just indicates how poorly some folks are educated. But see, this goes back to why I said, what like imagine if I watched that video. Why the hell would I want to date a woman who only likes me because of how much money I have? So if I ever go broke or like a stock crash or whatever, she's just going to divorce me. Like, you really want to be with that? And people act like I'm crazy for looking at this and saying that it's not appealing. It isn't. I don't know, man. It's just I was gonna do a whole video about how back when this all started, I was a guy that just wanted to date, and then you had like long term plans of wanting to get married, and have a family, and I always think it's so funny how when I come online, I see chicks talk about men being stupid and um, just speaking negatively about men in general, right? And nobody tells them that they're going to do something of violence to a man or do some other type of violent thing like shoot up somewhere or blow up a building. It's so interesting how like everything is based around appeasing and coddling chicks, and everything is based around making men miserable because even when women come online and talk about men in bad manners, and they don't and they speak in generalizations, right? You don't have people giving them this type of pushback. Like some woman can make a stream right now talking about stupid men, and no guy is going to come to her stream on some excuse me, no woman is going to come on her stream on some account and write some weird message about the way she looks, or say that she's going to commit violence, or like you're not going to see that crap. Yeah, dude, the disparity is off the charts. Like I had one of my relatives came over from out of state this week. I told him the way people talk about women and the things you have to do to get with them, you would almost be remiss to think that they're an endangered species. Like, get muscles to date a person who has something between her legs that another several billions of people on the planet have? Are you serious? But it just drives me nuts because, like, they really believe this stupid stuff. And they have like they're so backwards that they think you want things to be like this. And I said before, I don't get anything out of doing this. Like I'll do a video, I state my thoughts, but I'm not rich. I don't make anything to live off of on here. So all of this is clearly done just because I believe that this stuff is screwed up and I think I can articulate it in some way. But I mean, it's like the cons of having this happen to me far outweigh the pros. Like I very sincerely mean this. All I have, I would have given gladly not to be sitting here today. I don't know any individual who would be happy that this occurred to them. Envoy writes, remember, you have to appease them to be romantic, to be thoughtful, to be a real man. But if you say they must also appease you, all of a sudden you're upholding the patriarchy. I told you, man, feminism is such a joke to me because if things were truly equal, and we've discussed this before, you would have chicks asking out men, you would have chicks making groups about how hard it is to get a date, you would have chicks pretty much just doing all the stuff that men do. Like when Megumi walks down the street, he has like at least two or three women be like, "Hey, I saw you, and I like your number," and da da da. Everyone online thinks they're a freaking psychologist. Oh yeah, and they all have a window into your soul. They like I remember the one guy who said that he doesn't have to speak to me or see me approach women because he can tell by watching my videos I'm not ready for a relationship right now. It's like, dude, you do you not know what a public persona is? Like that's why I said these guys are like these basement dwelling uh creeps to where they think that they know someone by watching a video. Like they're an expert on your personality because they saw a clip of you. It's really sad. By the way, my favorite thing of disparity, so like there's actually a group of people who try to they try to lump the chick stuff in with other parts of a man's life. Yeah, that was the same. Um Megumi, if you watch the Romance Curse video, that's the same guy that was talking about like to get a woman, you need to build a model kit and all this other stupid stuff. I called him like bird brain or something. If I had a dollar for every time been diagnosed as mentally ill by been qualified random people online who are just mad at you and can't reconcile a disagreement, I'd be a millionaire. Yeah, because that's what they do when they can't dispute what you're saying. They feel as if they have to argue with you about these types of things, and in terms that don't even address what you're saying. I mean, like most things that respond to me in a negative way don't even actually answer back what I'm stating. They just respond to a title or the general topic of it. I lost my train of thought, by the way. Oh, now I remember there was a guy that was trying to say that because I read this on the stream on Saturday. He was talking about let me go look for it because I may end up doing a video with this in the future, depending on how if I think it's relevant enough to mention. Um, where is it? 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 Game is being able to handle yourself in any situation or social interaction. Having game is not just about attracting women, it's about your ability to move through social settings and communicate fluidly and command respect through charisma and charm. That's what the vast majority of the immature males on these channels don't understand. This isn't about attracting females, it's about molding social relationships on any level. So they try to take the woman thing and extend it to being this indictment on you in like every regard. Now, this is BS because there are plenty of people who are successful career wise, but are not successful in their romantic life. Um, I mean, do we need to go down all the celebrities that are making millions of dollars in movies that have been married twice, three times, four times? So, and also the other stupid part of it is that he claims it's not just about getting romantic relations, but then every time game and self improvement, all this other stupid garbage is mentioned, it conveniently is always on videos about not being able to get a woman. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to agree with them on that one. They're so stuck in their own minds they can't comprehend the idea that people can have a different view than them. So they tell themselves they're just mentally ill. Only my opinions are correct. I really want to make a video of like a compilation video of all the stupid comments about game and call it game goofs or something. Or some kind of parody video where I'm pretending to give romance advice. Like, I did one of those a long time ago. I'm gonna do another one. The first thing you have to do when you want to show someone how to get a woman is hide your face and never show proof that you have been able to get a woman yourself. That's what they'll resort to if they can't refute any of the points you conveyed. Yeah, all these personality analysis. I'm not even joking. They analyze me more than like people, people make videos like analyzing characters and shows. They treat you like that. They're like talking about what you're wearing and what it symbolizes and speculating on your backstory. I don't even like mentioning any other relatives or stuff. The only time I mention one of them is if I'm trying to make a point. Um, like I did mention the thing with my grandparents, but like for me, it's just the thing where if people like how do I explain it? There's some stuff that just isn't relevant, and I think I'll only mention family members if it's again like to make a point or to bring up like something that was said that I think is worth discussing. Like I mentioned before, that no other member of my family from any past generation, as far as I can tell, had this problem. Which is why I said that it wasn't just a thing that you just have no woman ever reciprocate in you, interest in you, and it's like, remember, this is between real life, the internet. You would think with the internet you would have even more options, right? Because you're meeting chicks from other like states and countries, but the reverse is true. A lot of them really just come on there to get an ego trip with no intention of actually building something that's going to last or hold any sort of substance to either of your lives. And I remember so distinctively when I had the one for the Dear John letter writer like message me first and then try talking to me. It's like because I had a conversation with her where she was saying something to the effect of she was tired of always having men show interest in her. And I said, like, in no uncertain terms, Bimbo, I only know who you are because you came to my channel. If you had never messaged me first, I would have never even been in any position to have shown interest in you because I wouldn't know who you are. So you did it to yourself. But that's why I said, like, like everything just revolves around them. And like, I was gonna make this point in the video, but that's why I believe truly that trying to make a family with a modern woman in most instances probably was never going to work because they're just too damn selfish. I mean, like any person who can just sit around and talk to 10, 20, 30 guys and be completely fine wasting all those people's time because she wants the ego trip of like having all these men show interest in her, that's not someone who's going to be a good parent. And when you can remember that a lot of times they just will abruptly stop responding to you, that's certainly not someone who can take accountability for things that they do. So yeah, man, I really am just tired of chicks just as a group, as a team of people. I just think that they were a nice idea. Um but the execution is really lousy because I said before, if you're interested in dating a woman, but to go on a date, you have to do all this stuff. And then even if you get a date with that woman, she still can cut you off. She still can deny you any ambitions that you have. Like I told my best friend, it's like he doesn't want kids, right? But he wants to get married. I said, if you go out and you ask out some woman and it takes 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months just to get her to go on one date, and then after you go on a date with her and you enjoy it and you want to schedule a second one, um, she reveals that she would never want to get married, then you just spent a whole year on this woman for nothing. Oh, you can be friends. Not to hell with that. You have a goal, and when they're not able to help you meet it, you got to kick them to the curb. To date now, you generally must require the patience of a monk. Now, to date, if you're a man, you have to have the patience of a monk. If you're a woman, you get everything light speed. At like I told you, there are like look at because you know how people were saying, oh, you have to wait for a woman to choose you, and all, like look at someone like Diane Downs. That was a woman who decided that she was going to have kids, so she just didn't tell her boyfriend or husband or whatever that she was going to get knocked up by him. Like that's why I said chicks get to choose at any stage of their lives what advancements they're going to have with regard to their romantic pursuits. If a woman wants to get married in her teens or her 20s, she can do that. If she wants to have kids anytime she wants, she can do that. She doesn't have to sit around and hope that some man materializes and decides to be interested in her. And it's like I'm tired of people sitting here and doing all this analysis. None of this has anything to do with what you own, how famous you are, your charisma, person, whatever the hell. It's all based around being the wrong gender. Yes, if you're a guy, you're not going to have much choice. To go into what Megumi said. If you're a guy, if you're the wrong gender, you ain't going to have much choice. Exactly. And I wish more people would recognize that because, like I said, there's nothing productive about going around and harassing other men because they disagree with you. There are a whole bunch of men that still talk to chicks. Do you see me in their comment sections or their DMs? What are you doing? Stop it. No, because if they want to sit there and talk to them, go ahead. No skin off my bones. I still think it's really funny that when it comes to the romance stuff, I have such limited options, but with regard to actually trying to be friends with people, it's like the complete reverse. Like I've had so many people that I'm the one who breaks off, like, all right, forget it, I'm done with you. I just think that's really funny because I said before, like when you spend so much time by yourself, and a lot of it was like you didn't even want it to be, it just happened. You just get used to you know, like I can only have one actual friend for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't even care because I'd rather have one friend that treats me good than a bunch of people who treat me like trash and we're all the same. Where they can't even say hello to you without you saying something to them first, and they want to send you weird, nasty, pornographic pictures. Like I don't need that. I already told you the woman thing is the same stuff. Like I really can't see myself just being with a woman, like living in the same place with one of them. And again, that's why I said that like when you make somebody live one way for this extraneous amount of time, to tell them that there's going to be this big shift out of nowhere, it's basically unbelievable. It's like a fairy tale at this point. But anyways, I'm gonna get off of here because we've been going for 2 hours. I hope you enjoyed this early Halloween stream. The spooky thing was the chicks because they're always disturbing all year long. So have a good rest of your day. Thank you, Megumi Envoy, for your long-awaited return, Akatsuki Merchant, and I will be back on next Saturday. So have a good rest of your holiday.